Hello everyone. From romantic introspection to Victorian morality, and from modernist uncertainty to fragmented realities, we have journeyed through the major literary periods. Now we arrive at the last one, postmodernism, a movement that questioned truth, authority, and even the nature of storytelling itself. In this lesson, I'll talk about the postmodern period and its time frame. We'll get to know why do we call it the postmodern period, and we'll have a look at the historical background of this period and the main events that happened during this time. And we'll get to see the language and the literary devices used during the postmodern period. And here we will have like 10 key characteristics explained with examples. So we will talk in details about language and the literary devices or the key characteristics of the postmodernist period. And then we'll have a look at the authors, some of the authors of course, and their literary works. And you will notice that I mention many writers who are not British. So I'll explain shortly what's the difference between English literature and British literature. We'll have a quick view of art during the postmodern period. And in the previous lesson, we talked about the avant-garde. And in this lesson, we will see its influence on the postmodern period. And as usual, we will have a comparison between modernism and postmodernism. At the end of the video, we will see the impact of the postmodern period so far. So let's get started. First, let's ask these questions. When did it start and why do we call it the postmodern period? Well, it started after the year 1945, after the end of World War II. And the term postmodern literally means after modern. If you remember, the previous literary period was the modernist period. So here we come with the postmodern period. So after 1945, postmodernism emerged as a reaction to modernism itself and the historical horrors like the Holocaust and Hiroshima, the atomic bombs, and the rise of mass media. And it embraces pluralism, irony, and the breakdown of grand narratives and traditions. So we can say that the postmodern period is a reaction to modernism, and it values fragmentation and playfulness. Now we come to the historical background. Of course, a lot of important events happened worldwide, but we can mention the end of World War II and the beginning of the Cold War. This is the beginning of postmodernism. We witness in this period the rise of television, advertising, and digital technology. And now we can say AI and many other inventions. So this postmodernism increased focus on identity, culture, and the post-colonial world, immigration, race, and other topic related to cultures. Let's now talk about the language and the literary devices and the key characteristics of the postmodern literature. So, language in postmodern literature is often ironic, self-referential, and ambiguous. So, postmodern writers tend to expose the illusion of meaning and highlight how fiction or stories can change realities. So, after this slide, I'll talk about the key characteristics in details. So, postmodern literature is known for its self-referential, self-awareness, and mixing of genres. In the previous literary periods, we were introduced to new form of literature like poetry or new form of literature like prose after the printing invention. Here in the postmodern period, we see not only new forms, but also the mixing of different genres. So, writers break the fourth wall, blend fiction with reality, and often emphasize the truth is subjective and not objective. Now, let's talk about 10 key postmodern characteristics. I will mention now 10 elements from postmodern literature. Each one I'll explain it and I will provide you with examples and I will try to simplify it. These 10 characteristics are really important for MA students, for PhD candidates, and for BA students as well. These topics are really trending for postmodern and contemporary literature. I made a video a few months ago. It's called 7 Postmodern Elements. You see the thumbnail just below my picture. You may watch it if you want. I will leave the link in the description. In that video, I give also examples from different literary works to understand the postmodern elements or characteristics. Now, this list, these 10 key characteristics, we will start one by one. So let's start with number 1. Let's start with the first category or group. Here I combined 3 characteristics or literary devices in one group since they serve or function similarly. So we have irony, parody, and playfulness. Why do we use them in postmodernist literature? Well, postmodernism uses humor, satire, and absurdity to challenge traditions. Since it avoids seriousness, mocks traditions and traditional forms, and plays with expectations. So in order to do or to achieve these things, avoid seriousness, mock the traditional forms, and play with expectations, we see the use of irony, parody, and playfulness. So what are these 3 terms? Irony means, or it is saying the opposite of what is meant, to disconnect between reality and its representation. For example, I am very hungry right now, so I can use irony and say, oh, I am so full, I can't eat anything. So here the words that I said mean the opposite. By the way, I am always hungry. Let's go to the next one, parody. Parody imitates another work or style to critique or humorize it. So, parody mocks genre conventions, and we have the third one, playfulness. It is used usually to break formal seriousness. We see the deliberate use of absurdity and rule breaking. We can see this example from Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut. We see time travel and aliens coming to the story, which satirize the war trauma. So these are 3 characteristics: irony, parody, and playfulness. Let's start with the second element, metafiction, or stories about storytelling. Postmodern texts often reflect on their own artificiality, breaking the fourth wall and drawing attention to the act of writing. Let's make it simpler. Metafiction, it's when you are reading a story, let's say, and you see the narrator or one of the characters or the author himself or herself addressing you and telling you that this is a story you are about to read or to begin reading, or this is my fictional story. So here the author breaks the fourth wall between the reader and the settings of the play or the literary work by saying that this is a fictional work, by referring to the act of writing this literary work. So when you see a sentence like indicates that this is a literary work and not real, this is a fictional one, this is called metafiction. So it's fiction, not real, and metafiction addressing or telling you about the act of writing or the process of writing this. Let's get an example. Let me read it from the other screen. Here, Calvino's novel, If on a Winter's Night Traveler. Here, the novel starts with this. You are about to begin reading. So as a reader, when you see this sentence written as the first sentence, you directly get to know that this is a fictional literary work and not real, and the author reflected or pointed out that this is fictional and it's a literary work. The third element, pastiche or blending of styles and genres. Here we see two styles or more, two genres or more, mixed and combined all together in one literary work. So you see romantic comedy, for example. So it's like the merge or the mix of two or more genres or styles. We have this example, oranges are not only fruit, the only fruit. Here in this story, we see the combination of autobiography and also fairy tales at the same time. So we see two different genres in one literary work. So unlike parody, pastiche is celebrating this combination or mix of two genres or more. Parody uses the style or the story to mock it or to humorize it. Meanwhile, pastiche is the merge of two styles, two genres without any mockery. So this is pastiche. The next one, the fourth element, intertextuality. It's when texts refer or borrow from other texts, creating layers of meanings. We see here some literary works providing references or quotes from other literary works. This creates layered meanings. So it's like when you see a literary work mentioning another previous literary work or giving a quote from another literary work. So this is called intertextuality. Every text is a part of a web of previous texts. It's like, let's give this example. You are reading a text and you see the characters referring to Shakespeare and saying, I will do this, it is to be or not to be. So here, this quotation is taken from Shakespeare, and this is also a literary fictional work. So this is intertextuality, to have a reference or a quote from another text. Intertextuality doesn't have to be only like this. It can be a rewriting of a story or of a certain mythological story, giving new details but referring to the original story. This is also called intertextuality. Here we have this example, The Bloody Chamber by Angela Carter. Here there is a typo. Here Angela Carter retells fairy tales with feminist perspective. So here we see intertextuality because the original story is taken from old mythological stories and rewritten with her own feminist perspective. So this is also called intertextuality, a reference to another literary text that was adapted in this new one. The fifth element is temporal distortion or nonlinear time. Here we see stories told out of order or with disturbed timelines to reflect chaos or memory. So we see here the writer jumps from the present to the past, then suddenly back to the present or to the future. So we see non-linear timeline. We see events happening in the present, in the past, and in the future, all together without a chronological order. This is called a non-linear time. For example, Cloud Atlas loops and echoes across centuries in the story. So we see the character going to the future, to the past, back to present, without any order. We see fragmentation. It's when you see characters, plots, and settings are disjointed. So we see disjointed plots, maybe different plots that are not connected to each other, broken characters, splintered perspectives. All of these things together represent a chaotic post-war reality, which is the soul or the spirit of the postmodern period. Examples can be White Noise and House of Leaves. If you read these stories, you find broken characters, many different plots mixed together, chaotic atmosphere. Now, the next element is hyperreality. It's the blurring of reality and fiction due to many reasons like media, simulations, or consumerism. It's when the boundary between fiction and reality collapse and simulations replace real experiences. We see this in White Noise and American Psycho. We see characters learning about real news or real things from TV. We sometimes cannot differentiate, or the characters cannot differentiate between what is real and what is imaginary, or is this a part of simulation or real? So this like confusion is called hyperreality. The next element is multiculturalism. This feature celebrates diverse voices and hybrid identities and rejects Eurocentric narratives. Multiculturalism is the inclusion of diverse cultural voices and identities to challenge the dominant Western narratives. We see this in Zadie Smith's White Teeth as she explores race, identity, and post-colonial Britain. So this is called multiculturalism. It's also this feature has also other like branches. We can talk about multiculturalism in language. We see a story that is written mainly in English, but it includes words from Italian, Arabic, Turkish, or any other languages. So this is also called multiculturalism, to include characters from different countries, different cultures, different backgrounds, and the use of many languages. You see a character going to another country, and we are exposed to some phrases or sentences in another language to express the idea in a better way. Here we come to this element, faction. This word is the combination of two words, fact and fiction. So this word blends real people or real events with fictional elements and challenges historical objectivity. So it's the mixing of real historical events or real historical characters with fictional ones. It's like giving a story of a fictional soldier in World War II And in the story, we mention, or they mention, let's say, the Queen of England. So, the Queen of England is a real historical character. Meanwhile, the soldier is a fictional character created by the author. So, faction is the combination of fictional and real characters. Another example, let's say we have a character called Ali, and this Ali is portrayed in a story as a fictional character experiencing the Syrian civil war. So the Syrian civil war is a real event, but the character Ali is fictional one. Now let's talk about the 10th feature or characteristic, maximalism. It is when you see long, complex, detail-heavy narratives. You see dense texts elaborating on excessive details and encyclopedic scope. You see the writer telling you about all the details. Let's say the character is entering a room. You see the writer describing the character, the way he or she is dressed, the smell of the room, the sounds of birds or music in the room, the furniture, every detail possible. So this is called maximalism, when you see a lot of description and excessive details about certain situations. Here we have this example from Rainbow. You see many details and excessive description of characters and plots and stories. After we talked about the elements of postmodernist literature, we reached this stage, notable authors and literary works. Since the postmodernist period is still ongoing and it includes contemporary writers, choosing the most famous writers or influential ones can be challenging. So here I just chose Margaret Atwood, Kurt Vonnegut, and many other writers. You may include your own contemporary authors or the ones that you think they were important, like Zadie Smith and Khalid Hosseini and many other writers. So here you noticed I mentioned some authors, like Kurt is American, Margaret is Canadian, Khalid Hosseini is Afghan American. So aren't we talking about English literature, you might say? So let's get to know this. Why are we mentioning non-British authors? So to answer this, we can say that English literature is not only British literature or not only related to British authors. Of course, we are studying English literature and the British history and the literary periods of English literature, but in the postmodern period especially, English literature refers more to literature written in the English language, not only literature from England. Even in the previous literary periods, we study some French works that are translated into English, some German works that are also translated into English. So English literature doesn't only mean British literature. So we have here, when we talk about English literature, we have British authors like Shakespeare, Virginia Woolf, Jane Austen. We have Irish authors like James Joyce. We have American authors like T.S. Eliot. We have authors from South Africa, from India, Nigeria, and many other different countries. And of course, we have many authors who are citizens of 2 or 3 countries at the same time, like Khalid Hosseini, Elif Shafak, and many other writers. So we have the key distinction between this English literature written in English, anywhere from anybody, and British literature is just written by authors from the United Kingdom. Now we come to the visuals and artwork in the postmodern period. Here, this is a very wide and broad subject to talk about. We cannot cover it in a few minutes, but we can mention the following things. In the postmodern literature or art, we see conceptual art, digital art, AI art, and we see paintings that are colorful and self-referential and multi-layered. So, visually, postmodernism mirrors its literary form, chaotic, layered, and satirical. In the previous lesson, we talked about the avant-garde movement, and we talked about it in details, and we said that it started during the modernist period. However, it had its effects on postmodernism as well. So, to talk briefly about this, we can say that postmodernism inherits the experimental tools of the avant-garde, like fragmentation, pastiche, irony, playfulness, and these like characteristics can be taken, or maybe they are inspired from the avant-garde movement. To give you a recap about the avant-garde, it's a modernist movement, and while comparing, we are talking about its effects on the postmodernist period. The spirit was idealistic during the modernist period. Here, it's like in the postmodernist period, it's like playful and ironic. And in the modernist period, it called for the break with traditions. Here we see similar things, but like replacing this with different techniques or literary devices like pastiche and parody. The purpose of the avant-garde in the modernist period was art for progress. And here we see it in the postmodernist era or period as art for as a critique or joke or cultural play. The tone in the modernist period was serious and committed. In the postmodernist, it's ironic and detached. Now, as usual, let's compare between the current period that we are talking about, postmodernism, and the previous literary period that we talked about in the previous lesson, modernism. Just to get a recap, the historical context, modernism started in 1910 till 1945. The postmodernist period started after the end of World War II in 1945. The philosophical outlook of modernism included seeking truth, meaning, and order. Meanwhile, in the postmodernist period, we see denying of the singular truth, and we see believing in the multiple meanings. In modernism, we see themes like loss and inner conflict. In postmodernism, we see irony, simulation, media, pastiche. For the structure in modernism, it's fragmented, and we see non-linear narratives in postmodernism. The tone of modernism was a bit serious and introspective. In postmodernism, we see a playful, ironic, and skeptical language. The form and genre in modernism, we see poetic and symbolic examples. Meanwhile, we see genres and styles blending in postmodernism, and we see influences of Karl Marx and other intellectuals during modernism. The postmodernist period includes, of course, many authors and thinkers such as Derrida and many other authors. Of course, postmodernism is still continuing its progress. It influenced contemporary media. We see it also in video games, interactive fiction, post-colonial storytelling, and many new genres. Postmodernism opened literature to new voices, new forms, hybrid forms, and blurred boundaries between genres, realities, fiction, and we see the blending of many different styles all together. And this impact is still ongoing. Of course, postmodernism didn't just break the rules, it made us question why those rules existed in the first place. In a world of diverse voices and stories, there may never be one truth. And maybe that's the point. I'm so happy to be able to finish the series on English literature, literary periods. I hope that you found it useful. After this slide, you will see my funny pictures on literary periods. I generated them using AI just to have fun. I hope you like them. And after that, you will see the other videos on other literary periods, and see you later.